what's the good word? DKB here. So we had a very interesting idea. We're already season technically seems over. There's some playoff rule stuff that might be changed that I've been hearing is getting floated around, but trade rumors are already floating in regards to how we can upgrade this roster. Joe Caporoso threw one out there about us targeting Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Deandre Hopkins via a trade. This one made me stand up. It was pretty interesting. So some fans got involved. Some compensation ideas were floated out there. We could potentially acquire DeAndre Hopkins for a 2024 mid-round pick in an ideal world. And this is very comparable to what we've seen happen during the 2015 season, or at least before, when we acquired Brandon Marshall from the Chicago Bears for a 5th-round pick. And I think it would have all of the same kind of effects, not only from when DeAndre Hopkins, reset record books for the Arizona Cardinals, I'm sure, during Kyler Murray's rookie season, but also the effect that Brandon Marshall had on our offense back in 2015, which still has broken many records that hadn't been done since Joe Namath was quarterbacking. And we're talking about the last time that we really had 2 1,000-yard receivers, so that was great. Just for context, DeAndre Hopkins was so critical to the success that Kyler Murray had his rookie season. You're talking about a trusted top 3, worst case scenario, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And he ended up making DeAndre Hopkins accounted for 34% of the passing offense that year. Everybody else, I don't think, top 700 yards from what I remember. After DeAndre Hopkins' production is set aside, a lot of the majority of that came from the running backs, Chase Edmonds, and then sprinkling in passes to like Christian Kirk and Dan Arnold. So it really set a strong foundation for Kyler Murray in this offense. I would shudder if I was a Cardinals fan to think about what they would have looked like if DeAndre Hopkins was not able to have a breakout season with them, or at least from the Cardinals' perspective. DeAndre Hopkins has been putting up numbers like that for quite some time. So, again, I think he can have just as strong as an impact with us. It doesn't matter who starts, even if in some wild world Zach Wilson wins a competition next year and is going out there. You have to feel much better about his chances of success seeing DeAndre Hopkins lined up on one side, Garrett Wilson lined up on another. These guys look like 2 certified number 1 wide receivers. Obviously, Garrett Wilson has the much shorter resume, but then you can roll out an Elijah Moore in the slot and, mix in Braxton Berrios on those gadget plays that really earned him that contract extension outside of his return abilities. And then still developing up a guy like Denzel Mims, who had a lot of comparisons to guys like Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe he can get Denzel Mims groomed up a bit and really kind of help him have somewhat of a breakout season for himself as well, while we look to hopefully extend guys like Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims. So there are a lot of trickle-down effects. It's easily going to be the best offense that I can remember since we had our playoff teams. I mean, Brandon Marshall is probably the most spot-on comparison, because the only one that came to mind in terms of another huge effect for us was a guy like Santonio Holmes, with all of the clutch catches that he came up with late in games during key drives, and then again in the playoffs as we ended up getting to those championship games. I would definitely hope we see this similar level of success. I mean, I don't know how you stop an offense where you have to roll out Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, Elijah Moore, and then you still have to deal with Tyler Conklin and CJ. And if Jeremy Ruckert finds his feet next season, and he finds a way to steal some playing time, a younger, explosive guy out there as well. And then we're still talking about the running backs. Breece Hall coming back, Michael Carter II going into a more familiar and probably suitable role as the third down receiving option, and then spelling Breece Hall as the Robin to his Batman. So on paper, that's probably a top 5 offense in most media members, analytic eyes, etc. Now, there are some things we would need to be concerned with, right? So when it comes to his contract, nothing major there. We're still talking about 2 years left on his contract, so it wouldn't end until 2024. We get him on a 1 or 2 year rental. We'll see if we want to continue to, progress with that situation. Stat-wise, absolutely no concerns, right? We're talking about a man that's 10 seasons in, 11,298 receiving yards, 853 receptions, 71 touchdowns. The man is definitely going to be going to the Hall of Fame when things are all said and done. And again, worst case scenario, we're talking about a guy that's really a top 5 wide receiver, most times a top 3 wide receiver if he can touch anywhere close to the 17 games that teams are playing these days. The things that would concern me the most would be the most recent injury concerns. So 2021, somewhat of 2020 as well, but basically between the time of his Arizona's Cardinals contract in 2020 moving forward, multiple hamstring issues, ankle, neck, back, ribs, and then we're talking about more recently his torn MCL, and then there's been some swelling concerns and stuff like that have come up. And then we also did have the performance enhancement drug suspension that came up this season, which took away six games, if I'm remembering correctly, from him being able to go out there and help this offense have success. But I would argue as well, during those missed times, you felt how much that offense has lacked DeAndre Hopkins' leadership, production, etc. I mean, literally the moment he came back, Kyler Murray looked like the same quarterback that gave a lot of faith to that franchise. Without DeAndre Hopkins, immediately you start to see a lot of these questions surface. Maybe he's just more of a running option guy. Maybe we need to go out and get more caliber guys like DeAndre Hopkins or somebody that fits that mold as these possession jump ball style winners, clutch catch guys, underrated speed. I've seen him kind of get behind guys and they can't quite catch up. And we're talking about this at the age of 30. So it's a very interesting trade. I think ideally, if this is actually a realistic situation that can occur, the Jets pull the trigger on this, right? There is an issue for the Cardinals as well that was brought up that I think is key to this as well, in that Kyler Murray is injured, right? Torn ACL. He's going to miss a pretty significant amount of his season because he just recently got surgery. And so no team is going to necessarily admit this, but your starting quarterback is down. And if I remember correctly, I think their backup is Colt McCoy, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. Either way, it's not a guy that's going to be able to really carry a team far. So do you kind of start to try to reset things in order to get the most out of this contract that you just got to Kyler Murray, restock the roster, and you're going to have to do that by getting picks. So while it would hurt to lose a DeAndre Hopkins, you're talking about a season you're probably not going to be favored to do anything significant in. Why end up essentially wasting resources that you don't need to? So I don't know. Keep that in mind in the back of your guys' heads. Let me know what your thoughts are, though. Again, I would love to keep a lot of our picks. I think we only have 5 right now. Maybe there's some trade situations where we float a few more people out there. Who knows? But I think any of us, if we're in the driver's seat, Joe Douglas's chair, and we hear a call from the Cardinals or we call them and they seem like they're extremely interested, we pull the trigger immediately and we'll figure out all the extra logistics and everything like that. But I think this would be the kind of move that shows playoff or bust mentality. We've seen it when we tried to utilize James Robinson as a placeholder for Breece Hall. Just didn't really quite work out, but we've seen Joe Douglas make the type of moves necessary depending on where he felt we were at this point in time. And to be realistic, we probably could do very minimal to the defensive side and still feel like we're okay heading into next season, whereas the offense obviously is going to need a lot more resources, and that's personnel-wise in terms of NFL players. It's also going to be in the coaching staff ranks, so hopefully we hear about moves that happen there. But I'm also excited for this playoff potential rule change, at least for this season, that may occur due to that Bills-Bengals game with the unfortunate injury that occurred to Damar Hamlin, which, by the way, quick update, at least by the time you guys will see this will have occurred yesterday. But apparently he's been able to open his eyes. He's been able to write to, communicate, because he can't speak verbally so much yet still. But these are very, very huge signs, and his lungs seem like they're healing pretty well according to the doctor. So obviously there's still a long recovery road that seems like it's going to be happening here. But extremely proud of the NFL communities as a whole, the teams. I mean, I've been seeing great things via people from Twitter, because, you know, guys know I don't do so much social media, Instagram, all of the NFL teams' accounts. And for Damar Hamlin personally, I think he's had over like 250,000 donations, and he's somewhere above like $7 or $9 million for his charity, which donates toys to kids. So it's been mind-blowing, the support that has come out in regards to his unfortunate situation. So that's been great to see. But to bring it all back, let me know what you guys think about this potential trade. Maybe we can kick it off early in the off season once things get going. I definitely think, the more that I think about it, this is a more realistic trade than what I've seen in a lot of last offseason. But let me know what you guys think. Deandre Hopkins, mid-round pick, no-brainer, or should we stay away from potential damaged goods? So let me know what you guys are thinking. I'll catch you again. Peace.